Andrew Cherkowski is with us. He's a former federal prosecutor joining us now. Andrew, Judge Merchan has partially lifted the gag order against Trump in the criminal trial. Should Trump talk about the trial tonight, now that he's free to?
Well, lifting that gag order is a day late, a dollar short. The gag order, interestingly, does not prevent or does not allow Donald Trump to talk about the judge's daughter still. And that's one of the most troubling issues in this entire trial.
Really? Wait a minute. He can't talk about that.
He cannot. So paragraphs A and C of the gag order were lifted, which is the jurors and the witnesses, but the court staff and the prosecutors, that part of the gag order, still not lifted. So one of the biggest problems in this trial was the fairness of Judge Merchan and the connection he has to a daughter who's raising millions and millions of dollars for the Democratic Party and profiting off of this trial. He still can't talk about that.
Isn't that prohibited under the statutes of how they govern trials in American courts?
Well, I think that the gag order in this case is a blatant violation of the First Amendment. I'm so disappointed with the New York courts for not quashing that earlier. There's so much that I could talk about with that, but the idea of the First Amendment being stripped from the front-running president for the upcoming campaign, it's outrageous.
Got it. Now, President Biden's team, they've been referring to Trump as a convicted felon, frequently, a convicted felon, hammering him on that. That's an aggressive attack. You think it works tonight?
Well, you can call him a convicted felon, but you're going to have to define what he did that was wrong. Because remember, Donald Trump paid his lawyer money, put it in his books as a legal expense. I've talked to so many business folks, they can't tell me what they would have booked that expense as otherwise. So if Biden is going to attack on that, he's going to have to be ready for Trump to kind of come back at him for all of the things that he's done for which he's an unconvicted felon. Things like the untimely and reckless withdrawal from Afghanistan. Things like his own classified document mishandling. He's going to have to answer potentially for his son's conduct that he has endorsed over all of this time. He's got a lot to answer for if he's going to attack Donald Trump on criminality there.
It's a must-see TV event, isn't it?
I agree.
There's no way around it.
Absolutely.
I might even stay up late to watch this thing. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.